continue with our class Kosher Kitchen, and this session, all of them should be also dedicated to Refuah Shlema, our dear Rabbi Yaron Ruven Shlita. His name is Yaron Ben Doris. Also to Yehudis Bas Noach, Ariela Ora Bas Anna, Emira Meresi Rachel Bas Brandel, Dovid Shlomo Ben Sandra. Quick release of Moshe Shmuel Ben Pnina. HaShem, we spoke with him today, HaShem. And also to Atzlacha Rabba, Giveres Chana Bas Abraham Avinu and the whole family. Alright, so we continue today with our class Kosher Kitchen. And we're on the last chapter of this book, chapter 19, and we go through the alphabetic list of all kitchen utensils. And a lot of the things we said before, but now he combined everything together and gives extra details. Okay. So we're on the letter G. The next piece of equipment is grater. Okay. A grater is governed by the same rules as a knife, right? As has been discussed. See the knife below. Okay. In addition, the Halachah of the grater is stricter than that of the most other utensils, since the tiny food particles may be lodged in the crevices, and it is difficult, if not impossible, to clean it properly. Okay. If onion or horseradish is cut with a dairy knife and subsequently grated, right, that's a disaster. The grater may have become dairy and should not be used for meat or the reverse. A Rav should be consulted. One may not even use the grater to grate food for a meat meal, since the grater cannot be cleaned properly of the onion remains. One certainly may not grate food for a meat meal on a grater used to grate cheese. I'm not sure why somebody would think otherwise. Okay, the grater requires tevilah with bracha. One who uses a part of grater to grate horseradish should preferably not use the dairy plate if the horseradish is to be eaten with a meat meal or the reverse. Okay, so let's this grater thing is a lot. Okay, so let's try to understand. So, as we said before, the safest way to run your kitchen is to have a part of knife. Right? And now we're in the subject of knife. If you don't have part of knife, it's a disaster. So not only with a knife, but with other things, with this grater. Right, as we said, so a grater sadly can become not part of. Okay, because somebody cut one of these sharp foods with the dairy knife, for example, or opposite is the one with the meat knife. So let's see. So we begin grater and we try to explain. The grater is governed by the same rules as a knife. So all of these sharp things, as we said, even the fork, even forks that you cut with, governed with the same rules as a knife, right? Only not to cut, you pierce food as well with a fork. Okay, so let's see. In addition, the horseradish. I'm sorry. In addition, the Halachah of Grater stricter than of the most of other utensils. So meaning other utensils, it's easy to wash because they're flat, but grater it's not flat. So you have to wash from outside, from inside, like upside down, not to cut yourself. So because usually they're very sharp, people are very careful with that. So meaning most likely person would not wash it properly. All right. So again, the halachah of the grater is stricter than of most other utensils, since the tiny food particle may be lodged in the crevices, and it is difficult, if not impossible, to clean it properly. So that's the thing, as just to remind us when we are talking about koshering, right? and we were talking about libun kal. So libun gamur is when you it's like proper libun, right? When you need to kosher, let's say your frying pan, so you put it on a gas stove and you let it stand until it become reddish, like from the heat, right? And the libun kal is when you do the same, but only with some specific places, right? It's local. And we said one of the place when technically you should do libun when technically we said when it's not possible to clean properly things, so for Hagala, so meaning with to deep in the water, we said that we have to use libun kal. And one of the definition was one of the example was when it's impossible to clean it properly. So today, maybe if they take a toothbrush or something like a tiny brush, maybe it's much easier to clean. But technically, if you want to use Hagala, so in these crevices, like this grater, you would use libun kal with a torch or something. So that's right. That's how we spoke about these crevices before. If the continue, if the onion or horseradish is cut with a dairy knife and subsequently grated, so again when it is a dairy knife, so we said it's not necessarily even that that person was cutting hot. Of course, if a person cut had dairy, for sure they became the dairy knife. But even from the pressure, when the person's like for example pressure, what do you mean pressure hard cheese, right? So in order to cut hard cheese, you have to apply pressure. So from this pressure, this knife became a dairy knife even without heat. Right now, right, as we know, this taste stays in a knife for forever. I think I don't remember that we said maybe 1 year. So maybe after 1 year we said there is some leniency, but up to there, I think that there is. I don't remember that it has any leniency. Meaning that you cut once, like sharp food, so this sharp food becomes dairy, right? That even though you last time you used that knife for dairy 2 months ago. Okay, so that's the exception, behavior of the knife. Okay, right. So again, if an onion or horseradish, with example of the sharp food, is cut with a dairy knife and subsequently grated, so the grater may have become dairy and should not be used for a meat or reverse. The Rav should be consulted. I think, if I remember correctly, there we said maybe if it was used to this hot dairy, right? It's for sure this may become dairy like this grater. But if it was for cold, maybe there is a leniency that it did not transfer the taste to these other things. But again, the problem is the way I see it. It's also a knife. This grater is a knife, so I'm not sure what Rav is going to say in this case. Have to look into it. It's not so simple, right? Because it's from knife to knife. One may not even use the grater to grate food for the meat meal, right? So meat meal, since the grater cannot be cleansed properly of onion remains, right? So meaning these onions that were cut with a dairy knife. One certainly may not grate food for meat meal on a grater. They used to grate cheese. Right, cheese. A grater requires tevila with bracha, right? Because why? As we said, it gets into contact with ready to eat food. You can grate carrots or something. I don't know, other things. Okay. That's why it requires bracha. So very, very careful. Okay. So it's proper to have one daily grater, right? So especially people who eat a lot of cheese or something, other things. I mean, what would you use? Oh yeah, cheese or cheese or other things. Okay. Okay. So we have one small one. We have collapsible, right? It's like that does not take a lot of space, and we don't use it that much. So, but for sure, for cheese, you need to have separate one. Next one. One who uses part of grater to grate horseradish should preferably not to use the daily plate. So meaning this. Okay, it's of course it's preferable because everything is what is it? Everything is cold, but preferable not to do so. Again, when you have a grater, you have to put it inside of the plate or bowl, or whatever is it, right? And so all of this food is going to fall into this bowl or on a plate. So he said, don't use this daily plate. Meaning, I mean, technically, this should be no issue, but preferably not to do it. Okay, not to grate their horseradish or onions. Right, though those are going to be eaten with meat meal, right, or the reverse. So meat meal meaning again it was on cold. Technically, we said many times there is no problem, but preferably not to do it. Okay. So next one is a grinder. A grinder is also governed by the same rule as a knife, right? The grinder in which hot meat or even cold liver and fresh onions were ground together become meat utensil. One who grinds non-sharp foods, for example potato or eggs, in a meat grinder may use that food with a daily meal if the grinder was thoroughly cleaned beforehand. Some would avoid doing so, since it is difficult to properly clean the grinder from the meat residue. Onions or horseradish ground in a meat grinder become meat food and may not be eaten with dairy foods. If they are mixed with dairy foods, or if one grinds dairy foods with onions in the same grinder, a rough should be consulted. An onion or horseradish cut with a dairy knife should not be used in a meat grinder. A grinder or a grinder attachment requires tevilah with a bracha. Okay, so let's see. Let's go from the beginning and try to understand. Technically, it's very similar to the grater, but it's not exactly the same. It's not exactly the same. Okay, so first of all, let's start from the beginning, sentence by sentence. Grinder is also governed by the same rule as a knife, right? But it is a knife, right? It is a knife. The grinder in which hot meat or even cold liver and fresh onions were ground together becomes meat utensil. Right, hot again, hot meat or even cold liver and fresh onions were ground. So because of this onions, so because the cold, even if it's even the liver cold liver, they call the salad the chopped liver. Very popular. It was very popular in Europe for sure, right? Chopped liver today, today is not so popular because it's very unhealthy, but it's still very delicious. Okay, chopped liver. Right. So how do you do this chopped liver? With onions. There's a lot of onions, right? So then this grinder becomes meat grinder, even though it is cold, or hot meat. So either or. Okay. One who grinds non-sharp food, for example, potato or egg, in a meat grinder, may use the food with a daily meal. So meaning not sharp food, can use the food in a daily meal if the grinder was thoroughly cleansed beforehand. I'm not sure how is it possible to to thoroughly clean this grinder because it's a knife there. There is a knife. So you're trying to be careful, first of all, not to cut yourself with the knife, right? And I don't know. I don't know. So me personally, I would not do it. Not do it. Would not do part of food to eat it in a daily meal. Some would avoid doing so, since it is difficult to properly clean the grinder from the meat residue. Okay. So that's, for me personally, it's understandable. So we would never ever do something like that in my house. Onions, meaning it can confuse people. It can confuse people like around, and for example, you have kids, and kids see what exactly you do. Or you have somebody in your house, right? You have a guest, and guests, they say not very observant person, and they trying to observe and learn from others, and they can learn wrong things. Right, and we have guests like this in my house, and they were saying like ridiculous things. I said, "How do you know? Like, where do you get it from?" And he said, "No, I got it from a religious person." I said, "Cannot be from a religious person." And then they explained to me, and then I understood it could be like I had an explanation that what they trying to do. So it was not exactly forbidden, but they should not have done it in front of that person, because people, I guess, they just absorb. They go. You can read about kiddush 100 times, like, but it's better to see like somebody that is observant person who knows halachas, how this person conducts kiddush. So one time you see it's very like. Very, very educational, right? And some people, they prefer not to read books. They just see what other people do, and sometimes what other people do are confusing. First of all, not everybody knows how to do things properly, and then maybe it was some exceptional situation, but that person learned it as a rule, which is absolutely wrong. Absolutely wrong. Right, so continue. Onions or horseradish ground in a meat grinder become meat, right? 100%, right? Become meat because it absorbs the meat. Right? Become meat food and may not be eaten with the dairy foods. Okay. If they are mixed with the dairy foods, or if one grinds, so meaning this onions or this horseradish become mixed with dairy food, or if one grinds dairy foods with the onions in the same grinder, a Rav must be consulted. Since I think it's after the fact it was not intentional, I guess we would need to see the ratio. Was it 1:60 or not? If onions or horseradish cut with a dairy knife should not be ground in a meat grinder, right? So it became dairy. Okay, a grinder or grinder attachment require a tevilah with bracha. So I mean, are they like plastic grinders? I think actually there is a plastic meat grinders. I think so. Attachment, right? Could be, right? But like inside of the knives of the attachment, they're of metal, so for sure, and they get in a contact with ready to eat food, right? So that's why you need toggle them, tevilah, with a blessing. Right, very interesting. So continue. So next topic is a hard cheese. One who eats hard cheese, hard in double quotes, must wait 6 hours before eating the meat. Hard cheese is defined as a cheese that had aged for at least 6 months. Most commercial cheeses produced in this country do not fall onto this category. However, one who eats the type of cheese commonly called Swiss cheese, or the equivalent which is usually aged, must wait 6 hours before eating meat. Many consider Parmesan cheese is a hard cheese. See chapter 5, section 3 for list of the cheeses and their status. Okay, so let's do from the beginning. So there is a thing as a hard cheese. So usually, as he said, most of the cheeses produced in US, they're not considered hard. But whatever we have in our stores, there is a Swiss cheese in our stores, and other cheese like hard. You can see first of all there are holes, right? There are big holes inside. I think there is from some bacteria or something. Like it's how it is being processed. So it's 6 months. Sometimes it's less, and sometimes a little more, and it costs a lot. So that's how we know. So it's all because like double of normal soft cheese, regular cheese. So regular cheese, I think they do in 3 weeks, 1 month tops. Like it's done, right? But this require aging. Okay, so after regular cheese, we wait. Sometimes you don't have to wait. You just rinse your mouth, eat something hard, right? Right, some solid food maybe, right? Maybe drink something if you want, and then you eat. You can eat meat. There is no problem. But after this hard cheese, right? Since right, they're very fatty, so it's not good for health, not good for cholesterol, not for other things, right? But I think Rambam, right? Rambam was talking about in the Hilchos Dias, if I remember correctly. So it's one of the foods. He had the whole list of food, the category of food that is they're harmful, so not recommended to eat, but like you can eat from time to time, basically. Okay, so the hard cheese was in that category, right? From time to time, a little piece, there is no problem. Enjoy. Right. So again, the most commercial cheeses produced in this country do not fall into this category. I'm not sure there is a real Swiss cheese from Switzerland. Maybe yes, maybe not. I'm not sure if there are Jews there produce cheese. I think so. But whatever they sell in our stores, it's from Israel. Okay. So we wait 6 hours. Continue. So next one is hood. So hood like above this stove top, and he said see stove below. So when you're going to get to stove, we're going to discuss. But quickly, the problem is all the evaporations. Right, and sometimes when it's when you use not sometimes if it's low enough, so of course you have all of the residue, all right, from what you cook, right, and it stays there. For example, you did a meat meal, right, and now you do something daily, so it could mix the vapors and like with residue on top of the hood and fall back into your pot. Of course, it would be less than 160 for sure, but there is a concern. Okay, and we need to know like it's almost impossible to kosher it, to clean it, even if you change the filter. I mean, of course, you have to change the filter, but that's not what I'm saying. Like, but it's because it's a gray, grate, so it's not so simple to clean it, and like you have to go from inside, from outside. Not so simple. Okay, so that's why what we do on Pesach, we simply close it with aluminum foil. That's it. I mean, who's going to clean it, right? So since it's very hard, right? So we're not even trying to. I mean, we clean on top, of course, clean on top, but still, but we cover with aluminum foil. Okay, so continue. Next one, horseradish jar. Jar, okay. It is halakhically acceptable to use clean meat or daily spoon or fork to remove horseradish or sauerkraut from a jar, regardless of whether it or remaining horseradish is to be used with meat or daily meal. It may be advisable to avoid doing so. One should certainly not allow the meat or daily spoon to remain in a horseradish or a sauerkraut jar for an extended period of time. So let's see. From the beginning, horseradish jar. So I mean, I think this jar, at least what we buy, they're tiny. Right, the spoon is not you cannot store the spoon there for a long time. Maybe smaller spoons, like special spoon, but normal like the teaspoon you cannot store there. Right, it's much bigger than the jar. but okay. So just practically speaking, the halakha halakhically acceptable. It is halakhically acceptable to use clean meat or dairy spoon, right, or fork to remove horseradish or sauerkraut from a jar. Meaning that even if it's sharp, if it is sharp, but you're not cutting through, you just remove it. The problem we said before, what with what's it called, with the pickles, right? Because pickles they do pierce. That would be a problem, right? This you don't have to pierce anything. So regardless of whether eat the remaining horseradish will be used with meat or dairy meal. So you can take a clean spoon and remove again, because there is first of all they are cold, right? It is cold. A spoon is cold, and content is cold, and plus you're not cutting. So that's the reason why you can use with either spoon, meat or a dairy spoon, clean. It may be advisable to avoid doing so, right? So even if you have, the way I say, if you have parv, use parv. One should certainly not allow meat or dairy spoon to remain in a horseradish or sauerkraut jar for extended period of time. See chapter 8. What is extended period of time? With the liquids, we said it's 24 hours extended period of time. Here, I think it's much shorter, as we said, with all of the brines, right? So with brines, it's much shorter. It's not, even though it is a liquid, but because it is sharp, so it can transfer the taste. So we have to be very careful. So just don't leave the. Usually it's proper, at least. So that's what we do. We always you remove whatever you want, and you put the cap back, right? The lid back and close, because otherwise it's going to lose its flavor, right? So meaning we never use it practically speaking. We never would leave the spoon there. So you take whatever you want and put the spoon on top, and that's it. Cover it and that's it. So meaning never ever we will leave it in there. Next one, I think it's. Okay, so last sentence. I apologize. One should certainly not allow meat or dairy spoon remain there. Okay, we said a hot plate. One should not use hot plate for both meat and dairy foods. One may warm dairy foods in a meat hot plate if the hot plate is cleaned thoroughly and covered well with the sheets of aluminum foil. Okay. Punctilious individuals would avoid doing so. One should consult a Rav regarding the use of the hot plate on Shabbos. Electric hot plate does not require tevilah, right? Because does not require tevilah, but because of this, I think we explained before, you should not warm up bread on a hot plate, right? First of all, it's never that clean, in my mind. So we don't clean it I think, not with the sponge and the soap every time, because why? There's no food there. You just put your containers, right? So there's no need to keep it super clean. So why should you put the bread on there? Okay, so let's do from the beginning. One should not use hot plate for both meat and dairy foods. Okay, but again, the foods, when we say the foods, if it's in a containers, so it's a little different, but still he said not to do it. Okay. One may warm dairy foods in a on a meat hot plate if the hot plate is cleaned thoroughly and covered well with the sheets of aluminum foil. So be very careful and read instruction. In the hot plate that we have, it says 3 times minimum. On a plate there was a sticker, on a box it was a sticker. On when you remove this hot plate from the box, it was like a warning not to cover it because it's glass, right? Today the majority of them made with glass. don't cover them with aluminum foil because it's going to crack, right? So, but if you have another kind, if you have a metal one, yes, you can cover with aluminum foil. Commentary say one should use heavy-duty foil, since the thin foil tears easily. So even if you have thin foil, so do like right 2 layers or 3 layers, so it should be sufficient. But if you want, you can use heavy duty. This heavy duty, like we usually don't use a lot. So to buy just one roll, just to stay there and use it occasionally, so just do multiple layers of this, because it's you can use for everything, regular thin foil, and that's it. Or buy heavy duty, whatever you do. So continue. So right, so technically they say preferably not to use for a meat and dairy. I mean, if you think about it, the only time a person might eat dairy on Shabbos, it's like on Shavuos day. And you can have Shavuos day. Right. Okay. So that's the only thing, right? So to buy a separate hot plate only for that one day does not make sense, unless somebody because of the dietary requirements that they cannot eat meat, for example, they can only use dairy. There is also the situation, or they only occasionally eat meat. So yeah, in this case, preferably maybe to buy a smaller hot plate for whatever you don't use as much, and that's it. Or you eat it cold, right? Not everything have to be hot. Right, technically on Shabbos, one dish, if you have one hot dish, is more than enough. If you have we usually have more, but technically one is enough. And somebody does not have blech, somebody does not have hot plate, so like minimum of the minimum, had a hot drink, right? Also should be sufficient. Okay. Punctilious individuals would avoid doing so. Okay. This should one should consult with Rav. Use a hot plate on Shabbos. Regarding hot on Shabbos, okay. Electric hot plate do not require tevilah again. So don't put on a plate itself food like bread to warm up. Okay. Okay. So continue. Ice cream. One should not. Okay. 1 second. So I think we said about everything about hot plate. Okay. So and you can use a timer with a hot plate to shut it off. Ice cream. One should not purchase scooped kosher ice cream from an unsupervised store that sell non-kosher ice cream as well. Some stores sells a particular brand of ice cream. In which some flavors are kosher and some other are not. Okay. One cannot assume that the scooper is thoroughly washed between the flavors. Indeed, it is questionable if one may purchase scooped ice cream from an unreliable vendor, even if the flavors in the brands are kosher. There may be reasons to suspect that the vendor may substitute ice cream, one ice cream for another, right? To non-kosher brand. This principle applied to any non-packaged food sold in a non-supervised store. One should seek rabbinical guidance. So that's a big one, and let's see, try to address. So again, as he said, it's in general. It's in general. Okay. So let's see. From the beginning about ice cream. So if it's packaged ice cream, there is no problem, right? You can buy from any store because it's sealed. So we're talking about scooped. Okay. One should not purchase scooped kosher ice cream from unsupervised stores. So meaning these people, in a store, I'm not sure how much is non-kosher ice cream in this store. I have no idea. So is it much more expensive? Is it the same price? I have no idea. So meaning that person would buy this, for example, this kosher flavor, not for Jews that observe kosher, but just because this brand comes with I don't know some kind of like taste that non-kosher brands do not. Right? Some I don't know even what to say. Some strawberry, I know strawberry. I think everybody. Some like an unusual one. So meaning they do not care. It's kosher, not kosher. So meaning that you're a Jew, you go into the store and they think that I'm going to buy. Yeah, there is a kosher. Sometimes they on a store they have signs. So we carry this and these brands. Okay, so Jew might think that everything is kosher there, but again, if there is no supervision, and sometimes there is a mezuzah there in the store, right? But mezuzah does not make everything in the store kosher, right? And this person can wear the baseball cap and they say, yeah, it's probably a Jew. Maybe he's a Jew, maybe not. Maybe he's not so observant Jew. You understand? So they can have whatever they want in the store. Right, so some stores sell particular brand of ice cream, of which some flavor are kosher and other are not. So that's the problem. So if it's packaged food, there is no problem whatsoever. So for example, last time we were buying chicken, it's like a huge supermarket. Right, the majority is not Jew, right? It is a freezer. Like a refrigerator, like separate, like for kosher chicken, kosher meat, kosher everything, right? And it's maybe the huge like freezers are back to back, like I don't know how many aisles and aisles of non-kosher meat. I don't know, so but everything is packaged, everything is separate. So you're not going to make a mistake just because in this freezer there is a kosher chicken. So behind or around the corner is also kosher. You're not going to make this mistake, right? Right. So we have to be very, very careful. So if it's unsupervised and you don't know this person, and sometimes in religious neighborhoods you have this guy, even in these cases sometimes people are afraid, so they prefer to get supervision. Sometimes like a smaller shop, the rabbi would come from time to time, right? And it does not need any constant supervision basically, right? So it's not like a need mashgiach or anything because there is no cooking there. Nothing. It just they receive the ice cream in the buckets, right? And they serve from the buckets. That's it. Of course, they wash the buckets, but I don't think in these shops they prepare ice cream. They might, but maybe not. Most likely not. They just sell it. Resell it. Okay. So in this case, it would be a little more lenient. But otherwise, yeah, if they sell not kosher, how do you know? I don't know this example that I gave before. So in the store where I buy vegetables, there is they sell a lot of smoked fish, right? And some of the kosher brand, which is sealed in sealed and packaged. So that's of course it's a kosher you can buy. But some of them not sealed. But when we went to the factory a long time ago to buy directly from the factory, they sell you something not sealed. They carry only their own product. There is no problem. So, but it's and when they deliver to the stores, it's possible they sell to them in the boxes, in the cases. So meaning it could be that fish that kosher fish that they are talking about. Maybe yes, maybe no. So if you ask a sales lady, she's going to tell you whatever you want to hear. So she would tell, yeah, it's the same company. I would not buy it. I say, thank you very much. I want the sealed one, right? So because they sell not kosher fish as well, or not kosher company. Exactly the same fish, but not kosher company, right? And it is questionable if one may purchase scooped ice cream from an unreliable vendor, even if the flavor of the brand are kosher, right? So again, it's how do you know it's kosher? Because it's in a bucket, you can put in any bucket, this ice cream, right? Right, or stickers. I think the buckets may be even the same, the stickers. They can put whatever they want. There are many reasons to suspect that the vendor may substitute the ice cream one ice cream from another. Maybe non-kosher cheaper, maybe not. This principle applies to any non-packaged product, product sold in non-supervised store. Okay. Meaning, if it's non-packaged, so for example, when you go to Jewish supermarket, a lot of things they have. Yes, it is packaged, but with the stamp of their own store. So there is no even kosher sign. Why? Because it's you buy from kosher store. They have a rabbi there, like all these supervisors, right? So they, for example, they get the nuts, like huge, like boxes of nuts from kosher place, and then they like sell in retails. Pound container, half a pound, 2 pounds containers. They do whatever they want, right? So, and the stickers is from their store. So this store I can't believe, but other store they say it's kosher, we don't believe. Right. Okay. So this principle apply to any non-packaged food sold in a non-kosher, non-supervised store. One should seek rabbinic guidance. So, I mean, whatever we said there should be very straightforward. Don't play with fire. So, meaning if there is no kosher stamp, so most likely it's not kosher, right? Not kosher, right?